Welcome to a new video in my home automation series, and yeah, we have another Zemismart product. So I've shown you previously that I received quite a few of them, and actually I think this is the one we talked about first, but this requires the most of the setting up because by the time I create the videos I want to have this up and running for a couple of at least days, so we can see some history of energy consumption, because this is an energy monitoring device. And as you can see from the three sensors, it is designed for a three phase, or I think it can be used in single phase as well. So it is primarily designed for a three phase power, and it uses Zigbee. So I should be able to use it in different systems. So of course I'm planning to set this up in Tuya, and also I will try to use it in Sonoff, although I don't think it's going to work, and my Zigbee to MQTT server as well. So we'll see which one works. And as the current recording, I haven't done any of these because I wanted to show the unboxing, because, you know, once it is installed, it is really hard to video all these details. And of course you have seen on the overlay what system it supports and how it behaves. Yeah, by the way, you can see the things here. So it supports 120 amps on each of the phases, and yeah, that's the product model, SDM01. And so I'm just going to quickly unbox it. And there is a Wi-Fi and a Zigbee version, and I picked the Zigbee version because then I can use it with Zigbee to MQTT, so I'm not linked to you know, the Tuya ecosystem. And yeah, there is a fairly detailed documentation in it, and I mean, it's a big leaflet. Everything is multi-language, but it should be easy to figure this out. So obviously we are going to have a connector to link it up to neutral and the three phases, and also we will have the current clamps for all three phases as well. And there is a lot of documentation here on the various blinking patterns of the LEDs. Yeah. Okay, let's look at the device. Oh, this is fairly light. So we have a device, it's a 1 DIN size device, and too much stuff. Okay, so SDM01, yeah, T0, there is an activity LED, there is a reset button, and QR codes, and yeah, that's it. So it uses 10mm 24 to 12 AWG wires. Okay, and so we have two connectors on each side, and we have one connector, so only for neutral, that it says for one of the terminals. Yeah, so this is 4 wires. So those are 4 voltage sense wires for the 3 phases, and then one for the neutral, and they marked the blue one for neutral. Fair enough, it should be easy to set up. There are no markings on the connector, but yeah, and of course it doesn't go here, it only goes in this way. So it is fairly easy to set this up. So this will be plugged into this side. Yep. And then we have the sense wires for the 3 current transformers, and that's already wired up, so that just needs to be plugged in here this way. Okay, so you have a bunch of wires sticking out on both sides of this, and of course yeah, I said this is DIN rail mountable, so you just you can easily just mount it in your consumer box. And in terms of the current clamps, these are the usual current clamps. So it shows the direction where it measures positive energy flow, and it doesn't say, but I'm pretty sure that it does bidirectional measurement. Well, we'll see that. I will set it up in a place where we have power going in both directions, and then again it shows the direction there as well, so the arrow which corresponds to the printing on the side. So yeah, I mean, obviously you clamp these onto your 3 phases, and you clamp the sense wire So this one goes to neutral, and this one connects to the three phases, so it can measure voltage, and also based on the voltage and the current, it can also measure the power factor and everything in order to calculate the correct power consumption. There are some stuff here which, let me just look at a little bit closer. It just says 1 to 6 with very small letters, but I don't think it's documented anywhere in the documentation. Let me just quickly open this up. It might be some debug port, or could be something, you know, for a different device, and they are just sharing the casing. Yeah, there is no mention of that, so probably it's not used for this particular device. But yeah, I don't expect it to be. And that's why I like Zigbee, because you don't really have to do anything. I mean, like, you know, with a Wi-Fi device, if you want to use it in a DIY solution, you might consider flashing it. But for Zigbee, you don't have to do, because it's enough if you have your own special Zigbee coordinator, which talks to your home automation system, or, you know, in whatever system, and then you can just get the data that way. Okay, so I should be able to set this up, and then once it is up and running for a set amount of time, then we will see how it looks like in the various applications. And just before we do that, so you can see the device on Zemismart website, it's about 100 USD at the moment, plus some shipping, and it's the SDM01, and yeah, I mean, that's the particular version. And if I go back one page, you can see that yeah, there is a Wi-Fi version. It's a slightly bit less, but I specifically wanted a Zigbee one, so I can test it test it in many different systems. And yeah, I'm not actually, the only thing I want to see, yeah, okay, the first thing is bidirectional measurement. So we should be able to see, you know, PV generation and also energy usage using this this guy. And then it uses 1D rail mount, and Modbus versions available for industrial applications. Maybe I should talk to these guys to, you know, how the Modbus version works. Okay, for the Wi-Fi, sorry, for the Zigbee, you obviously need a Zigbee coordinator, and they have the Zigbee to MQTT logo here as well, so that looks promising. And as I said, in the installation, you have the sense wires connected to phase 1, 2, 3, so the gray, black, and the brown goes to the 3 phases, and then blue goes to the neutral, which I think it is incorrectly represented here, because I mean, that should really go with the blue one. I mean, you don't necessarily have a circuit breaker on the neutral, but the fact that these are connected and that's red sort of suggests that this is, okay, maybe this is an installation where they have a breaker on the neutral as well. Okay, let me just ignore my comment. And then you have the, you know, the free cores. Based on my review of some of the other units that I measured, especially, well, specifically the Refos EM6, I had to match the current sensors with the sense wires just to make sure that they are on the same phase. I'm not really sure how it is going to work here, so we'll see how that is done. And you can see, you know, Home Assistant here, so it definitely works with HZA, and then yeah, energy distribution. Well, I wonder if I can see a diagram like this in the Tuya application, because I haven't seen anything like this in Tuya yet, but maybe it is enabled for this particular model. And as the wiring scheme shows here, so this is the typical three-phase plus a neutral scheme, and this is a, you know, a 1-phase plus neutral when you want to generate, when you want to measure the solar generation and the grid network separately, so you can do that. Or if you want to measure 3 separate circuits in one single phase, you can do that as well. As you can see, the 3 sense wires are just connected together because you have one phase, so you are sensing the voltage on the same phase for all 3 measurement points. And that's it. Let me just make a quick video on the actual installation, which is very messy because you can see here my Shelly 3 EM, which has been monitoring my main 3 phases. So I just had to remove it to make space for the SDM01 that you can see here. So the guy is right here, and it is blinking red, so there's some sort of alarm is on at the moment. It's maybe the unbalanced power alarm. I'm going to talk about that later. And there is a status LED. So the guy looks like this. I haven't even put it into the DIN rail. So you have the top connectors, the 4 wires, and you can see they are monitoring the 3 phases. So gray, black, and brown are connected to the 3 phases. So you can see 1, 2, 3 here. And then the blue is connected to neutral, you can see here. And then I have the 3 current clamps. And so normally the power for me comes from the bottom and then goes up. And then you can see that lines up with the line on the current clamp. And yeah, you just clamp it on and that's it. So it is really easy. And as I said, this terminal block is already in the package. So literally you just plug this in, you plug the other terminal block in, which contains the 3 current clamps. So all you need to do is connect the 3 phase wires and the neutral wires. So connect into the terminal block or a circuit breaker, and then you clamp on the power meters, and that's it. So I have this guy set up in the Tuya Smart system, and I have to tell you that it is interesting. It's not exactly working the way I expected it. Well, at least not in Tuya. So first of all, what you're going to see here is that once the graphs come up, well, you can see it here as well, but if I bring up the full screen, then you can see this one better. So the thing is that, you know, now it measures total forward active energy. And I don't know what these, you know, checkboxes are, because even if I check them, nothing really happens. But so, you know, it says in the listing that it supports bidirectional measurement, but I'm not seeing the other direction. So yes, of course, I'm using electricity in the evening time when there is no solar. But let's say during the day when there is solar, as you can see, the energy is 0. And okay, because that's active energy. But I haven't really figured out how to, sorry, that's forward energy. But I haven't really figured out how to get into the to the reverse energy, so I can show the, you know, the other consumption. So I'm, you know, trying to click on the various things here and then and there, and then there is a view records which actually takes me to alarms. And if I go into the energy consumption, it's the same thing. So I'm missing something essential here. I mean, I'm pretty sure that the device measures all this information correctly, because then it knows that we haven't really used any energy from the grid during the day, but I just couldn't figure out how to get to the other screen. But let me just go through the rest of the stuff. So on the main screen, you can see that you see the total active forward energy. And again, if I click on it, nothing really happens. So I can't really go into the the return energy or the reverse. I don't know how it will be called. And it shows a nice, you know, a small graph up here, which is actually quite nice. It's a nice overview of the day. It also shows the current usage for the current hour. And then I can see the my phase 1 and the phase 2 and the phase 3 at the moment. And I'm getting already some alarms because there is a negative active power. Yes, I mean, sure, that's normal. There's nothing wrong with that. I don't know what is the axis here and the refresh. I mean, for me, it's not really an alarm because I know that, you know, my solar panels are up and running. And in most cases, I also get another notification because there is unbalanced use, which is, again, it's normal because my whole house is connected to 3 phases, and all the consumers are split in between these 3 phases. So the consumption across these phases are going to be, I mean, in most cases, it's going to be vastly, well, somewhat different for me. And you can see, you know, energy here, power factor, and the frequency. And I can zero out the energy, so that basically zeroes out all these measurements for the total and also for the day. I can access the history, which is also nice, and you can go back by day. And you can also change to the month view, where basically then it shows the various days. And of course you can click on the chart at any point and it's going to give you all the values. And it's of course the same for the hours. So if you go back to the previous day, yeah, I'm having some issues with my network. And if you go to the year, then you can see energy usages for the month. And of course I don't have this unit up and running for such a long time that I have more history, but the use of this is very easy. It's very straightforward. Again, so I'm missing the reverse part of it. I mean, normally how it is represented, that the you have a graph and then the generation is usually shown as, you know, opposite values, let's say going down, or they use a different color, but I just can't see it here. And yeah, okay, so that's the main screen. It's very nice. It's easy to see. There is a lot of information on the screen. So even if you come here on this main screen, you have a good glance of everything what is happening, and you know, you can dive deeper once you go into the statistics. If I go to the settings quickly, there's not going to be an awful lot here because there is another settings there. You can get offline notifications, and yeah, you have some information on the device. You can rename it, you know, change the room. But then most of the stuff happens in the settings, and I'm going to glance over it because this is none of these is really mentioned in the documentation. So I mean, most of the stuff makes sense, but not everything makes sense. So we have some parameter settings. Well, first of all, it is not really translated. So I think what is really happening here, so you can see that there are some measurements in negative values and the amps are in negative values. So I'm pretty sure that there is, you know, some of these is actually measuring the reverse the reverse power and the reverse energy, but it's just not shown on the main screen. And it looks like that you also have, you know, values, some of these values for the separate phases as well. So let me go into the alarm set, and that's going to be even more, a little bit complicated. First of all, there is this section about the RS485, and to be honest, I have no idea how that is related to this device. I think I read somewhere, or I found maybe a different listing for a separate or a similar product, that it has a Modbus serial. So the RS485, the baud rate, the address, and the data format actually sort of makes sense. So that's sort of the settings you would have for Modbus, but I don't know. So it, you know, again, the documentation doesn't mention if this particular unit has Modbus, or maybe this is just the settings for a similar product, but not exactly this one. Or maybe, if you remember in the review, there were a couple of like small holes on the side. Maybe that one is some sort of pin header. But I haven't really gone that far. I mean, it has Zigbee. It is definitely easier for me to extract information out of this device through Zigbee. And if you want Modbus, you can buy similar products for about a similar price, which does Modbus dedicated. So it's not a feature that I would look for. And then we have all sorts of alarms that I did not set up, but you can see that there is a high power alarm. So you can set up there for a threshold. So each of these settings you can enable, and then you have a separate button for the threshold settings. So you can define the kilowatts threshold. And I assume that this obviously, oops, let me just turn this off. This is across all the, on the 3 phases combined. And of course you have stuff for the overcurrent. So, I mean, that's pretty much the same as the alarm, assuming that the voltage doesn't fluctuate so much. There is an unbalanced load alarm. So this is what is triggering for me all the time, because in the residential setting, it's, it's going to be mostly unbalanced. I don't know why the update is so slow. My Zigbee hub is quite far at the end of my network now, so maybe that's the reason. And then you have over voltage alarm. It makes sense. Under voltage alarm, power loss alarm. Yeah, I mean, so the phase loss alarm, actually this is a good one. I don't really know what it does exactly, because it might just indicate that if one of the phase power in one of the phases is lost, but the other phases are working, so then it will be able to show that. Of course, the unit itself also is powered from, well, one of the phases at least. So if that phase is gone, then the whole device goes offline. And negative active power alarm. Okay, so I'm going to turn this one off. And data report frequency. Yeah, you can change that as well. And device locating. Again, I have no idea what this is or why this is important. But yeah, these are the settings that you have. And then you have a separate one which says address, which I have no idea what it is, especially because here for the RS485 you have a separate address option here. So if this would be more address, I'm not really sure why there are two separate screens. So again, the only thing I can think about is that this screen was developed for a family of products, and then it includes some features that this particular model does not support. So now you can see that the negative alarm is gone. So the sun is still out, it's late in the afternoon, but I'm pretty sure I'm generating more than what I consume. But from this one, I can't really see that. Although, you know, this graph sort of indicates that I'm pulling more power from the grid. So maybe the washing machine is on. So it's pulling, you know, a couple of kilowatts, whereas maybe the solar is now down to a couple of 100 watts, or maybe, you know, 500-600 at the moment. But the power factor shows negative, so I think it's probably still generating. It would be nice to see if the amperage would also show a negative value. And in the view records, you can see all the different alarms. So you can see that I'm getting all these unbalanced alarm and negative alarms. And actually, I quite like this screen because even if you had an alarm in the past, but by the time you look at your phone, that alarm doesn't apply anymore, you can come to this alarm records and you can still see them. So that's actually a very nice feature. It's not included in all devices. So even this one would, even for this feature, I would, you know, choose this device, because again, if you know that something funny was happening, maybe overnight, and you wake up and then, I don't know, the power is gone, or maybe some of the things are, you know, your clock got reset, but not everything got reset, then maybe one of the phases were out. So that phase loss control would be able to tell you that. And then you can just look at the alarms and you have timestamp for all the issues that the device was detecting. And to be honest, that's pretty much it. Oh, not all, because then we can look at how we can do scenes, because I'm pretty sure that we can create a couple of things. I mean, we can't really do anything with this device because it's only measuring, but we can use the triggers. So status changes. And so you see here that I have forward energy, power factor, and current, total forward, and then I have total reverse energy. So the information is here, it just somehow it's not shown on the screen, which is a bit of a bummer. But you can see that I can create automations, or I can create triggers if, let's say, a forward energy is the total forward energy is you know, more than or less than a certain value. I mean, the total is not really good to use, because obviously that's an ever increasing number. It would have been better if there is something which shows today's, but we don't have that information unless you know, zero the energy every single day. And you can see reverse active energy, reverse active energy, XYZ. So they call the free phases XYZ. And then you have the same one for forward and reverse. So yeah, it is nice. I mean, I think probably I would have liked one more settings where there is like a total reverse energy and a total forward energy. So you don't, I mean, in some cases you don't care about the specific phases, you just want to use, you want to look at the combined energy across all the phases or combined consumption, but you only have, you know, one for the phases individually. So you might have to just set up, you know, rules for them separately. Or you can combine them in you know, rules in one single condition as well. But I think in some cases it would be just better if you have a total. So yeah, these are all the things that you can do in order to create a trigger. So you can create some, more complicated notifications for yourself by setting up automations, and then just using all of these settings to, let's say, turn something on or turn something off. So maybe that some of your things are connected to, let's say, phase X. So you can see that if the forward energy or the power, for example, on that phase is more than a certain value, that maybe you have your two big appliances, you can shut one of them off just to make sure that you don't trip the breaker or something like that. But I guess you get the idea. Okay, so I've already migrated this guy over to my Zigbee to MQTT network. So I just deleted it from Tuya, and I clicked on that button for a long time to get into pairing mode, and the device is supported. So that's wonderful. Okay, so let's see how this looks like. Yeah, it's the correct picture, and it is reporting as Tuya SDM01, so that's fine, and supported. I refreshed my Zigbee to MQTT just a few days ago, so it makes sense that I have all this information here. And actually, let me just turn on MQTT Explorer as well. So once we have done this, we will see how this looks like. So I mean, it already looks like that we get all the data that I was expecting. So we have voltages for all three phases separately. We have power for all three phases, and oh, look at that. So I am feeding power back to the grid on phase 2 and 3, and it looks like on phase 1 I'm using. So maybe the washing machine is on, so that's pulling the this phase a lot more than what the solar on that phase can support. And I have currents, and again it makes sense. So I'm pulling 2 amps here, and I'm feeding 1.3 amps, 1.8 amps on the other circuits, and I have total energy, and I have produced energy. I mean, okay, this is the summer, so I am still on a tariff where I can actually use some of the power that I generate over the summer in the winter. So I definitely want this number to go as high as I can possibly as high as it can possibly go, so I can use some of this energy in the winter when I use the heat pump to heat the house. And we have power factor -1 and yeah, so frequency, I have energy on all three phases, some of consumed energy and some of produced energy on all three phases. So it's actually very, very detailed. So as I was saying, when I looked at the Tuya screen, all the information is here. It was just not surfacing up to the screen that we have seen in Tuya, but that's nice. Yeah, everything is here, and you have power factor for the different phase, and you have a link quality. I mean, that's great. That's everything I ever wanted. Let me just look at the MQTT Explorer so we can see the messages. So not this one, Zigbee, and as this guy, yeah. So AC frequency, currents, energy. There is a big energy. There is an energy ABC, energy produced ABC, link quality, power ABC, power factor, power produced, and oh, sorry, that's produced energy. Yeah. Okay, voltage. So again, anything which says energy here, those are the kilowatt hours, just to be, and anything which says power, those are watts. And yeah, everything is here. That's really, really nice. So, and of course, these are pretty much all the different data points that we have seen in the Tuya app for triggers, because you have seen all the different voltages, the currents, power factors, phases, energy, power. Of course, power goes both ways, positive and negative. And then for the energy, we have separate energy for consume, produce for the three phases separately, and all together for all the three phases again. So there is no daily here again. So if you want to build some sort of daily automation, then you have to do it in your home automation program, as in, like, save the values at midnight and then calculate difference throughout the day, so you get the daily energy consumed and the daily energy produced. But I think that will be all. I'm pretty happy how it works in Zigbee to MQTT, and I pretty much expected all these parameters to be supplied by the device. And I think these are all the data points that you would ever want to, have to build automation or any sort of like trigger in your home automation system.